All right, our next file this morning is People of the State of Michigan versus Gregory Miller. Ms. Morris, do we have any victim impact statement to be made today?
I believe it's attached to the PSI, Your Honor. Other than that, no. Mr. Miller is no stranger to this court. I think the PSI does a good job in laying out a lot of his prior convictions. The biggest thing I noticed in here is, I would say almost all, if not majority of these, he was either on probation, parole, or bond when these occurred. I think that goes to show he is not a good candidate for any type of probation. He has several assaultive priors, including domestic violence as well as just assault and batteries. On top of that, other domestic violences which have been pled down. He's not done well on probation in the past.
Right away, the prosecutor zeroes in on a pattern instead of a single incident. In sentencing, judges often care just as much about a defendant's history as the current offense. If someone keeps committing crimes while on probation, parole, or bond, it can seriously undermine any argument for another chance. Do you think repeat offenders deserve more opportunities, or is there a point where enough is enough?
He has several violations ranging from, which I think goes to show that the recommendation is appropriate in this case. Other than his prior convictions, I would just like to focus the court on the victim impact statement. Although it's short, I think it's very powerful. And I know the police report does describe the injuries that the victim suffered in this case, but in my opinion, it does not do them justice. The photos of the victim's face and injuries are extremely disturbing to look at. For lack of a better term, Mr. Miller did beat the crap out of her. And while I understand that Mr. Miller's underlying issue is clearly his alcohol use, Mr. Miller is very kind and polite when he's sober, but he rarely stays sober. And when he's drunk, he is extremely violent. I think he's been a danger to this community.
Notice how the focus shifts from punishment to public safety. The prosecution acknowledges that alcohol may be a major factor, but they're arguing that addiction doesn't erase accountability when people keep getting hurt. That's one of the toughest balancing acts in criminal justice. Treatment versus protection. Which do you think should take priority here?
For quite some time now. So I would ask the court to follow the recommendation and sentence the defendant to a prison term. Thank you.
Mr. Champion.
Thank you, Your Honor. This is a situation that really highlights the issue of substance use disorder. Mr. Miller was homeless at the time, as the prosecution has. When Mr. Miller is sober and away from alcohol, he is a very polite, helpful, and productive citizen of this community. Unfortunately, when you throw in the substance...
The defense paints a picture of homelessness and substance abuse, while the defendant expresses remorse and promises to change. But here's the challenge. At sentencing, judges don't just weigh words. They compare those promises against years of documented behavior. That's where credibility becomes everything.
Use disorder with homelessness, this is what we end up with.
In no means whatsoever did I intentionally try or mean to harm that woman. She is a fantastic person. She's a great human being and a wonderful woman. Hope she gets the help also that I need, and I'm going to use this time spiritually, seriously, stay sober, and do my best to stay sober.
Well, the law here is for domestic violence, and it's a third offense. Typically, a domestic violence starts out as a misdemeanor, punishable by up to 93 days. But I'll tell you, what I'm looking here at is a domestic violence is any assaultive battery. For instance, if I were to push a person, that is domestic violence. If I were to punch a spouse, that would be domestic violence. This damaged her retina, gave her 2 black eyes, bruised a couple of her ribs. She had a handprint on her right arm. And I do remember the pictures from this because it was a no contest plea. It's a no contest plea. I get to look at the entirety of the report. I don't know if the guidelines here are adequate. Say it, I looked here at your criminal history, and this is one of the longer ones I've seen. This is your 9th domestic violence. 9. You have violated bond, probation, and parole countless times. So bond supervision doesn't work, probation supervision doesn't work, parole supervision doesn't work, going in and out of prison and jails hasn't worked. And at your age, and I'm gonna say this, and I don't know how to say it other than just being honest, you have led a life, and this is what I wrote down, a life of boozing and drugs since I was 8 years old. In fact, since you were 9 years old. You and I are roughly the same age. We're only a year and a half apart. So I look at this and I'm just say it, and here's another thing I wrote down. You are a public drunk, right? Disorderly persons drinking, drunk all the time in public, and nothing has worked. It's just your criminal history. There are 40 entries. And yes, I know some were dismissed, but 40 entries. You didn't pay for child support. I noticed this one, when you're on probation for failing to pay support, you're arrested on new domestic violence charges. So you drink, you're drunk, and you beat up people. So you got a heck of a benefit by the prosecutor's office, and I 100% believe they probably spoke to the victim and got her permission to enter this plea. Wow.
This is the turning point. The judge isn't simply reviewing today's crime, he's walking through decades of criminal history to explain why he believes the sentencing guidelines don't fully capture the risk. When a judge says the guidelines may be inadequate, you know a tougher sentence is becoming increasingly likely.
14 to 58 months. I could have given you up to 5 years, but they brought it way down. Well, these guidelines are inadequate. I don't have to find substantial and compelling reasons to exceed them. I just have to now by law find that it's reasonable. And your prior history, I can't imagine any human being looking at this prior criminal history and think what my sentence is going to be is unreasonable. It's a life of drinking and beating up people. And I wrote down here, you are a danger to women. And there's no reason to think you're not going to get back out and do the same thing, because it is all you have done for a long time. So, well, I'm going to get this $68 state minimum fee, $130 crime victims rate fund fee. I'm going to add $300 court cost, and because I don't know what else to do, I know what my prison term is going to be. I'm going to add $1,000 fine. Now, some judges will say, why? They're not likely to pay it. Every time I've seen somebody who appeals fines and costs and says,
one interesting legal detail here, the judge explains why he's adding financial penalties even though the defendant may struggle to pay them. Courts can impose fines and costs as part of a sentence, and in some jurisdictions, those obligations can affect release conditions. Small courtroom moments like this often have long-term consequences that many viewers never realize.
it's too much. I haven't seen the appellate courts shoot it down yet. So I'm going to make you have to pay these before you can even get parole. Attorney fee, $300. No supervision fee. There's no DNA fee, nothing like that. And I'm going to sentence you to 36 to 60 months. I find that that's not only proportionate and reasonable, I almost think it's inadequate. So, and it does exceed the guidelines by just a couple months, by 7 months. I think that's a reasonable choice. It's lucky that it's not higher. So that's the sentence of the court. Stop beating up on people. All right, sorry, I take that back. Stop beating up on women. Alcohol daily, marijuana, and methamphetamine weekly. Yeah, let's hope you decide to stop doing it. And let's hope you decide to stop doing it. And you've also have been through domestic violence prevention, substance abuse treatment programs, advanced substance abuse treatment programs, and Catholic Human Services. Nothing's worked, so I'm just got to keep you away from people. I hope though you find sobriety because you need it. So does everyone else around you. We're here. you.